what skill do I think is the most important as an entrepreneur.
Trying to prove people wrong or right about you is a cheap level of motivation.
About 26 years old, I'd become a millionaire. I was making $1 million a year, and I ended up losing it all. One of the questions I get asked the most often is about what skill do I think is the most important as an entrepreneur. That's a really difficult question, but if I could go back and you could only give me one skill to begin with and I had to build from all of it, I can tell you for sure what it would be for me, and that would be the ability to influence. So it's the ability to persuade people. Without that skill set, the vast majority of my wealth does not exist. If you can't persuade people, if you can't influence people to make decisions that are in their own best interest, but that also grow your business, your brand, your company, your net worth, you can't ever become successful. One thing that everybody I know that's a leader in everything they do can do is persuade people. Now, I watch people do that in all different types of ways. Some do it through intimidation, some do it through force, some do it through humor, some do it through persuasive strategies, transfer of energy, you name it. But all leaders can persuade. All successful people can get people to make decisions in their own best interest that also get them to participate with their company. It's the #1 skill that I see most people not spending the most time on, is their ability to communicate, their ability to persuade people. And because they're constantly trying to go to a different course, or they think that somehow if their product is good enough, or they get the right sales pitch, that somehow they're going to win. But the fact of the matter is, you've got to become a better persuader. I'm constantly, personally working on that skill and refining it. My ability to persuade from the stage, through the camera here, to get you to make the decisions that are in your own best interest, to persuade you that I can help you, to persuade my children. When I'm negotiating on buying a company or buying a car or buying a jet, it's my ability to persuade people to make the decision that's in their own best interest to participate with me.
Trying to prove people wrong or right about you is a cheap level of motivation, and it will wear out. In other words, it's not the lack of it, it's not the best type. People say, well, hey, Tom Brady, 6th-round draft pick, I mean, he's constantly trying to prove them that they picked the wrong guys. I know Tommy a little bit, and I can tell you, that motivates him, but if you think he's become the greatest football player of all time because he's trying to prove people from 20 years ago wrong about where he was drafted, you don't get elite performance. Tom Brady is where he is because he sets standards for himself and has massive goals and ambitions for himself, not to prove other people wrong. I promise you, when he's sitting under center in the Super Bowl, he's not going, I was a 6th-round draft pick. That's not what moves him. And so I think it's low-level motivation. I do it too, and the sooner you drop, it's the symptom of the same disease. So proving your family wrong or right is a symptom of the same disease, which is you are still obsessed with what other people are thinking about you and not doing things that make you happy, that enrich you, that fulfill your soul. And so the irony about spending your life worrying about what everybody else thinks about you, here's the irony, is that those people will never be thought about after they're dead. So they spend their life obsessing with what everyone thinks about them, only to die and have no one ever remember them. Because people that are so obsessed with what other people think about them never really ever fulfill their potential. So once you can drop that addiction, whether it's friends, strangers, or your parents, and you begin to do things that fulfill you, that make you happy, that change other people's lives by your contribution, now you can be remembered. Now your life echoes into eternity.
Like, left to my own devices, right? If you just left me like what I'd like to do, hey man, I have no problem laying around. I like sleeping. Like, people think, they meet people like, they're robots, they're other life forms, they're just different than me. No, we build habits, rituals, and disciplines that serve us, okay? Now, part of those habits, rituals, and disciplines have sort of turned me into a more confident person. There's no question about that. So my standards are mandatory because you get your standards, right? And so the reason my standards are set so high is because I don't want to leave it up to my own devices, right? My standard is 1 more minute on the treadmill. My standard is 1 more person I can reach that day, 1 more phone call, 1 more something. And so for me, I raise them every single year, but the way I get to do it is I link it to my reasons. And so goals are really empty to me. I have a thing on goal setting, but like my big thing is that you show me someone with compelling, emotional, gigantic reasons, I'll show you someone who's changing their standards all day long. So like, give you one quick version that you've not heard before. One of the reasons I'm relatively fit is not just peak state. I have an uncle in my family that died at 50 years old of a heart attack. He's my godfather, my dad's only brother. I kind of resembled him. And I look like him a lot. So on the way back from his funeral, my reticular activators on heart attacks. On the TV screen on the airplane, I'm listening to music, is the Oprah Winfrey show. She's going through a new heart scan. I unplugged my headphones, plug it into the airplane one. They're talking about this new scan at Cedars-Sinai that at that time was new. It could read the plaques in your arteries, the calcifications, without going, you know, really invasively. I scheduled it. I went in. I had a world-class doctor who understood reasons and leverage instead of just prescribing. Because when we coach people, you need to do this, you need to do this. Doctors do it. Take this pill, take this. He understood leverage and reasons. What you do is you take the scan, then you go to lunch, you come back. I took the scan, I went to lunch, I had a burrito. I came back and I'm in the, when I walk in, I sit down, the doctor comes up and he says, "Oh my, I can't believe these arteries are in that young body." Got my attention. We walk back in, we sit down. He could still go, "You need Crestor, eat clean, get out of here." Isn't that what an average doctor does, right? No, wired me with huge reasons. He goes, "Let me ask you a question. I heard your wife's pregnant. I said, "Yeah, I have a son." And he says, "Do you want to be there when he graduates from high school? To be there for that day?" I said, "Yes, sir, yeah." He goes, "Your wife's pregnant. What do you have?" And I said, "A daughter." This is where you get a dad. He goes, she was 6 months pregnant. He goes, "Do you, would you like to walk her down the aisle on her wedding day, or are you okay that it's some other man?" I went, "What the f is on this scan?" Right? Like, and he goes, "I want to be very clear with you. If you keep going down the road you're going, there'll be some other man with your son at graduation high school, and a stranger's walking your daughter down the aisle that's not even born yet on her wedding day." And I went, boom. And he goes, "But if you do exactly what I tell you to do, you'll be there." And so to this day, brother, there are mornings when I wake up, not every morning, I don't want to go to the gym. I go, "Bella's wedding, Bella's wedding, Bella's wedding." So my standards are high because of my big old reasons. Other dudes may miss the gym that day because they're not going to miss their daughter's wedding if they don't go. But I've convinced myself I will. I get emotional. I've convinced myself I'll miss my daughter's wedding. So I will get my ass out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and I will get to that gym because my reasons are bigger, so my standards are higher. So that's what I think causes us to have great standards, is huge reasons.
And now, you've been very successful as an entrepreneur. Have you always been successful?
You just said the word entrepreneur and always successful, so you
Thank
know
you.
there's...
Listen to him. I try to tell everybody this. Nobody listens to me. I haven't met one entrepreneur that's like, "Oh yeah, everything I have ever done works."
Come on, bro.
And they're lying if they're telling
Well,
you
they're
that.
not an entrepreneur. They inherited something, or I don't know.
Right, mostly inherited.
Right, because if you're an entrepreneur, you have not always been successful, right? So
From Steve Jobs down.
all the way. And so I've had successes, and then I'll go backwards. So like most entrepreneurs, there's false start after false start after false start. So I would get it going, then it would go backwards. I'd save some money, then I'd blow it. You know, my business would grow, then it would shrink. And so no, I've had tons of different financial events happen in my life. And actually, after people thought I was pretty successful, I'd become a millionaire. About 26 years old, I'd become a millionaire. I was making $1 million a year, and I ended up losing it all. And it ended up, I lost a home, I lost a car, I ended up moving into an apartment. I was newly married, and I'll never forget this. I remember, because this ocean's out there, we're looking at it right now, and
Yeah.
I remember, honestly, defining moment. I had everything turned off. You can have power turned off and still survive. One thing I learned, you don't want your water turned off. And we had the water cut off.
Oh.
So I'm
What's your newlywed?
my new 6 weeks married. We
She's
ended up,
still with you?
She's still with me. She's floating around here somewhere.
That's it, man.
Yeah, she's with me.
We got so much in common.
I know we do. Both high school and the same thing
Yeah.
with our wives. And long story short, we had to go every morning out of the apartment, go down to the pool, and shower outdoors. And you bring our toothbrush. It was just shameful for me.
Most people's will to win is for sale. It's for sale.
Most people's will
is for sale.
to win is for sale.
They can be bought. I can't be bought. So if we give you most people, if we gave you just enough money, if there's a certain dollar amount, you'd stop working hard.
wow,
We give you a
love
title,
that.
you stop working hard. We give you a car or a plane or a house.
Dude,
or
that's the book, bro. That's the book.
Is that the book? Yeah, that might be the book.
That is the book.
It's
So
a book.
your will to win is for sale.
That's right. And I decided once I realized that, because I watch it happen with people in their body and their finances and their family and their faith, whatever it is, I'm not for sale. So there isn't a place you're going to buy me. You can't get me. There's not a stop, a place, a destination where you're going to get me to relent, to quit. I want to improve. That doesn't mean I don't struggle with my motivation from time to time. Doesn't mean I don't get confused or down. Of course I do, but I'm not for sale. You can't buy me.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like more, click the videos right here. They're exactly what you need to see next. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and become a part of the Max Out community. And tell me what you think about the videos in the comments below. I read all of them every week, and I select winners that get all kinds of prizes, gear, coaching calls with me. Make a comment.